Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 8 at Santa Anita on Breeders' Cup Friday is the Grade 1 $1 million Juvenile Fillies turf. You can play this race, the entire Breeders' Cup 2-day extravaganza, with your very own DRF Bets account. Head on over to drf.com/bet, deposit $150, bet the cup with $300. Let's meet the field for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. You've got an international cast as always. You also have some really nice North American-based horses. Todd Pletcher has Sweet Melania, recent graded stakes winner at Keeneland. Graham Motion has Sharing, a $350,000 Speightstown filly that just won the Salima at Laurel. Owen Hardy's got Fair Maiden for Godolphin, who was beaten last time out but adds blinkers, and she was very impressive prior to that race. It is a strong field, and we're going to begin with the number 1, Living in the Past. Living in the Past is going to stretch out for the first time in her career, Mike. It'll be very interesting to see how she handles that, as well as the short run into the first turn. But it appears she at least has a little bit of speed. Maybe she can work out one of those pocket trips.
Yeah, the speed is definitely there for her. I suspect breaking from the rail that she's just going to come out of there running. And then we'll just see about the quality and the distance. She's got one of those speedy pedigrees and a speedy running style, too. I don't know if it translates that well to her stretching out.
Number 2 is Croc Evoque, who's run twice in Southern California, slow races, but has earned stakes placings both times. We'll go back to her most recent start in the Surfer Girl Stakes. You see her altering course to the far outside. Kind of lost a little bit of ground there at the 3/16 pole. She is going to come with a good solid finish to finish second. It looks like she has some ability and a decent enough late kick, but this seems like a big step up in class.
Yeah, just going to have to improve, right? She's going to be a big price in this race. She wasn't the smoothest there when she switched out to the clear in the stretch, and she was running on. I thought just sort of running on a little bit evenly at the end, and I don't think a kick like that's going to get it done against this kind of field.
It appears that the number 3, Shaden, was privately purchased after her most recent race, a Group 2 win over Soft Going in France. Now, that race was going 6 furlongs, and she is going to have to stretch out. Now, her sire, No Nay Never, basically known as a sprinter, but this dam was a runner-up in the Irish 1,000 Guineas going a mile, and she's a full sister to King of Kings, who won the English 2,000 Guineas at a mile. I think she'll get the trip. It'll be interesting to see how she handles firm ground.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't worry about the distance with her at all. And you know what? Her form over there is fine. She seems like just one of those Europeans that there is plenty to like about her. She's going to need a trip in this race, but she might actually be a price in this race.
The only loss on the number 4 Abscon's card came to the brilliant juvenile filly turf sprinter Kamari, who we'll see early on the Friday card. That was in the Bolton Landing Stakes at Saratoga. She then stretched out successfully in the Grade 1 Natalma. I'm interested in your take on this year's Natalma, because Fair Maiden in the Godolphin Blue is the big favorite. And it looks like here she's just on her way to win. And Abscon, to her credit, fights back. There just wasn't a lot of pace in this race, and to me, this whole thing just held together.
Yeah, it did. The top 3 finishers were basically that way throughout. Fair Maiden had her shot at it for sure, right down the outside. She just can't quite get by. Abscon, if nothing else, really game to get it done in this race. And she's run well in all 3 of her starts, Dan. I'm not going to knock this horse, but I'm not going to use her either.
I respect the Roger Varian barn when they come over here, and the 5 Dayez coming in real sharp. This horse just won a Group 2 last time out. This is the family of Juan Desta, who really liked firm turf back in the day in Southern California. Really, this one hasn't done anything wrong, never out of the exacta from 5 lifetime starts. I'm not worried about the distance. 5-1 on the morning line seems a little bit light in such a competitive race, but if this horse drifts, I want to use her somewhere.
Yeah, I don't like the price necessarily either, but she's run well in all of her races. Got a really good trip last time when she won the Group 2 Rockfeld, but she was very game as well to win that race. And another one, I don't mind stretching out with her. I think the distance is going to be fine for her.
The 6, Unforgettable's going to add Lasix for Joseph O'Brien. Throw out the last race. She didn't need to like the synthetic surface. What you're going to have to do is kind of say what happened in that Weatherby's Racing Bank race 2 starts back. It was a very rich allowance race, and at a field of 20, I just didn't think she did much that day.
Yeah, she didn't. She was okay prior to that. Love, who beat her 3 starts back, is okay. But this filly was really no match for her either. She just has to take a step forward.
Cristal tasted defeat for the first time in her 3-race career in the Miss Grillo last time out. She ran into Selflessly. She was the beaten favorite that day. Let's watch that race from Cristal and Selflessly. It's really hard to separate these two horses. And Mike, let's take them through the stretch.
I mean, I guess the big difference here is just that Cristal has that running style that just always leaves her a lot to do. She's on the outside in the black silks. Last on your screen right now, she is running at the end of this race, but Selflessly just got the better trip, sat right up close, and takes over in the stretch with a pretty nice finish. Cristal gaining ground quickly. It's too late. She runs out of ground. To me, she's run well in all of her races, Dan. She needs a trip in this race.
Do you actually worry about her cutting back a little bit to a mile? For me, she's a horse that may want even more distance.
I mean, I'm not worried about the distance. You just, you have to worry about whether she's going to get the right setup, and I think she should get a setup in here. Can Rosario work out a trip for her? That's the real question.
Tango goes out for Aidan O'Brien. Ryan Moore, you always have to respect these connections. This filly is getting Lasix for the first time, and she's coming off a blowout win in a little stakes race at the Curragh. I think it's worth noting that both of her wins have come on very heavy, soft, yielding ground, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not sure she's going to get that at Santa Anita.
Yeah, she probably isn't. We'll see if it makes a difference to her. It's not that she hasn't run well or firmer turf, and maybe she just prefers a little cut in it. I'm more worried about distance with her, Dan. I thought she ran really well last time, but I don't know about her stretching out.
The number 9 Albania might have been aided by that very soft turf course. That was Arc Day in the Prix Marcel Boussac, and she might have really liked that soft ground, but I also liked the way she kicked down that loose leader in the last furlong. It looked like she was going to settle for second. She just kept coming with a big kick, and it's not like that's the first time we've seen a big kick out of her in her career. She did that in her first 2 races in Ireland. Now, she finished behind Daya and the Moyglaire stud, and some folks are going to say, well, she might have been exposed that day, but the reports coming out of Europe was she was in season for that race. Maybe that's an excuse. It was also her first race in over 2 months or so. I like her kick. Give her some pace, give her the right trip. I think she's going to come running. I just hope she's not too far back early.
Yeah, that was my big concern with her, is what kind of trip can she get in this race, because she's been dead game in all of her races over there. She really finishes, but she just also really lacks speed in her race. She's always well off the pace and has a lot to do the final couple of furlongs. So I just wondered what kind of trip she would get in here, but I don't deny her talent.
The 10 is Fair Maiden. If you just look at figs, she's got them. 2 90-plus Beyer speed figures on her record. One over the synthetic at Arlington Park, where she won her maiden by a country mile against the boys. Then on turf at Woodbine in the Catch a Glimpse Stakes, where she won despite being very, very green in the stretch. I was disappointed by her race in the Natalma. I wonder if it was the mile that got her. She looked like she was traveling strongly in the lane. Blinkers go on. Maybe that'll help her focus. We know she's fast.
Yeah, and I sort of agree with you. I mean, she's got the 2 figures that sort of stand out in this field. Can she do that over a mile? I'm not so sure. Based off of her last race, I think it's a real question, because we saw the replay. She was right there, heads up with the 1-2 finishers, couldn't get by, and I didn't like the way she was sort of starting to shift out late, almost like she was just getting tired going the mile. I can't stand way against her in here, Dan, but I just prefer other horses in here.
The number 11 is Sharing, and the only time she lost, I thought, was a great learning experience for her at Saratoga, going 5.5 furlongs, because she just saved ground and then was just in traffic all the way down to the 8th pole. And by the time she came out, she came with a really good run, and she was only beaten a neck. She then won an off-the-turf race. And then I loved the way she finished off the Salima at Laurel last time out. We're going to watch that race now. She's sweeping on the outside. She changes leads professionally, and it's off to the races for her. Beyer speed figure a little light at 72, but she has a beautiful pedigree, and I'm not worried about figs at this point of these 2-year-olds' career. They can improve by leaps and bounds overnight.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I really like this horse, and I'm definitely using her in this race. I like all 3 of her races. She was bred to stretch out, obviously, as a daughter of Shared Account, who won the Breeders' Cup filly in Mare Turf, and she did stretch out last time, and she sits close to the pace. I just think there's a lot to like about it, Dan. I'm a big fan of this horse. There's
a lot to like about the 12 Sweet Melania as well for Todd Pletcher. Jose Ortiz, daughter of American Pharaoh, a neck away from being 3 for 3 on the turf. She hammered a field last time out in the Jessamine at Keeneland. It was over good going. Some horses handle this turf course, some don't. Sweet Melania, she handled it. She prompted the pace throughout. She has taken over. No one's going to threaten her late. This was her coming out party, Mike, and she's another horse that can make her own trip.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, listen, I can't say I've been a big fan of hers, but I'm not standing against this horse anymore. She dusted this field. I thought she was really impressive doing it when she got beat 2 back by Cristal. Worth noting, she went first in that race with a 4-wide move. Cristal settled and waited to make the last run and then ran her down at the end. But this filly ran well in that race too. You know, I just can't deny her anymore, Dan. She's good and she's a contender in here.
And we saw Selflessly beat Cristal in the Miss Griot, and Chad Brown was showing a lot of confidence, stretching her out 3 furlongs, still a maiden in only the second lifetime start. She showed improved tactical speed, a good amount of heart in the stretch. I'm sure Chad and Javier are not pleased with this post.
Yeah, the post isn't going to work to her favor, but she really improved stretching. Now, she didn't even run poorly first time out. It felt like the added ground made all the difference last time. She took a big step forward. You know, I didn't love her, but I can see her running well in this race if she can get a trip.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Juvenile Fillies turf, because you're going to the outside with the 14-8 Toile, who won a group stake in her career debut for Aidan O'Brien way back in May, and then she went to the shelf. The Chivoli Park is one of the better 2-year-old races in all of Europe. That's a tough spot off a long layoff, so I can give her that race. And now she's getting Lasix. The post is a concern. You get Frankie.
The post is terrible. She really showed something first time out, though. They debuted her in the group race. She did get a good trip, sort of covered up in behind the lead, and she did wind up getting clear, but she really ran once she got clear in the stretch of that race. I thought it was a really impressive debut. I don't know what happened. I don't know why she missed over 4 months after that. But I wonder if it actually didn't do her some good, because otherwise, like a lot of O'Brien's horses, she might have run 8 or 9 times already leading into this race. It hasn't happened for her. She missed a bunch of times. She came back, as you say, in a big race over there. And also in a Chevrolet Park that went a wicked pace. They were flying on the lead in there, and she was chasing it the entire way before she got tired at the end. Listen, she's got to stretch out. She's got to do it from a tough post. But I think she showed some real ability in her first start.
You're going 14, 11, 12, and 9. Your fourth selection, my top selection, that's Albania. We're going to see what kind of trip she works out, because, again, it doesn't appear like she has a lot of speed, but I do like the kick she's shown no matter what the footing is. If she can stay within range turning into the stretch, I'm confident that she'll give a good, strong account of herself. I'm going 9, 3, 5, and 12 in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. It's a race, it's a card, it's an extravaganza that you can bet with DRF Bets. Deposit $150, bet with $300. Bet the Breeders' Cup. Learn more at drf.com/bet. An approximate post time for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf, 3:12 Pacific. Good luck.